More chips, don't let the salad win. That's the message in terms of nature of the food maybe that we consume in Wales.
Wrexham.
He's done it, the magic little man, Watkin. Oh, he scored! Steve Watkin has got a goal!
Ball breaks for Bowden, it's in early, as Rush likes it, and he'll chase it, he'll collect it, Ian Rush!
Bennett, and that's a second for Wrexham. Well, classic, changing defence into attack.
Conley! 1-0 to Wrexham, Carl Conley's done it!
Trundle for options, put it back to Morels. Oh, it's a good save! Oh no, it is, and it's in the back of the net. Andy Morel. What a goal! What a goal! What a goal from Al Ross and Cardiff! Folks, good wake your kids up. Something special is happening here tonight. Wales are going into the semi-finals of the European Championship.
Wanagati, Ferguson has definitely won it for Wrexham now.
And here's Mendy! There's that race-class roll again! Saved by Foster!
Wales are going to the Euros next summer. Wilkinson's wonderful Welsh women.
Wales! Wales have done it! They've reached the World Cup! It's him again! Champions! Wrexham are promoted! They have their storybook ending!
The first team in history to eat more chips and not let salad win.
Hello and welcome to the Eat More Chips podcast, the official podcast for one of the most recognisable flags in the Welsh football supporters universe. Well, we've muddled through for the last few weeks, but finally the terrible trio are back together. So let's welcome back the one from the only posh bit in Cardiff, and now back in the land of our fathers, the one that will be raising the IQ of North East Wales just about. Yes, the pod finally has all three members yng Nghymru, of course, wrth gwrs. It's Jamie and Daz.
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes. You don't look like you're on Crime Watch anymore. It's brilliant.
Hello, boys. How are you?
Good. Nice to see you,
Welcome
man.
back, Jimbo. How was the move?
I think if I'd have tied myself to the back of a Formula One car, bare-arsed, and got it to drive down the road, that would have been more pleasurable than what I've experienced over the last couple of weeks.
And this is somebody who's lived in Chester for the last few years, so that's saying so much.
Yeah.
To say the least. Well, welcome back. We have missed you, and it will be great to hear your crap for the next 2 hours.
Brilliant.
Anyway, on the Wrexham website today, they've said, love football, fancy yourself on the mic. Alan March Sport is recruiting for our in-house, in-stadium access commentary team at every Wrexham AFC home game. So basically, that's somebody who commentates for the visually impaired, which is fantastic feature because it's more descriptive commentary, basically, rather than, even though Mark does a fantastic job, but he actually commentates more for radio when you listen to him. This is more kind of descriptive for those who are visually impaired. AMS run commentary teams at 17 clubs nationwide, including Arsenal, Chelsea, Everton, Newcastle, Nottingham Forest, Wolves and Fulham. The commentators have worked on the FIFA World Cup 2022, UEFA Euros 2020 and 2022 and 2024, FIFA Women's World Cup 2023 and the London 2012 and Rio 2016 Olympic Paralympic Games. The in-stadium commentary has been in place at Wrexham AFC home games since 2018. If you are interested, you'll need to commit to a high percentage of Wrexham AFC home fixtures, including pre-season and cups. Occasionally carry a small amount of kit, less than 10 kilograms. Live within 70 minutes of the Stoke Kairas and arrive a minimum of 2 hours before kickoff, evenings and weekends, and attend training at the Stoke Kairas on the 2nd of November, which is from 9:15 till 5:30, and you can apply via the Wrexham AFC website. Jamie, great that they're carrying on with this, obviously, and it is a vital service, isn't it, for those who want to enjoy the game within the ground and have the kind of the extra commentary that goes with that.
It is, and do you know? I don't know if you guys listen to, remember Soccer AM? They did a podcast earlier this year, the Soccer A to Z, where the original gang got back together. I don't know if they literally went through the alphabet from A to Z with a theme each week and got to the end and then it stopped. So whether they're going to bring it back with something else, don't know. But
they've restarted as something else. So they've restarted as a new group. I think all of them bar. What the hell's her name?
Helen Chamberlain.
Thank you, Helen.
Okay.
Helen Chamberlain. Well, she's not back. They've got another woman in there, but basically they're doing a what they would like to get rid of out of football. And there's a brilliant one I've seen where Sheephead basically says that he wants to get rid of Free From Desire because it's a terrible chart and the fans are, and he's made T-shirts on it which is under the don't the yellow "Don't Stop" logo, whatever.
Yeah.
Stop. And when do you want to stop it? No, now. He says it's absolutely brilliant. Anyway, sorry.
Well, no, it's fine. Well, on that Soccer A to Z podcast, they had a feature on that, which I forget the guy's name now, but they had a descriptive commentator who basically what they did was they got his audio of him commentating on a famous goal being scored, and then they had to try and guess what the goal was. That was the feature. But I tell you something, listening to it was really eye-opening from the point of view of how different it is to just normal commentary and how much extra they put in. It's a skill. It's something that obviously I noticed. Obviously I know the club have said about doing training and stuff, and I think it is. It's not just about sort of watching the game and basic commentary. There's so much more to it. I mean, when I saw this, I did for a very split second think, free season ticket. But I thought, no, it's probably not my cup of tea. So yeah.
Well, I've been tagged by two people saying this would be perfect for you, Si. I'm like, no chance. I'm not, because what would happen is, can you imagine it though? We'd score and I go, fucking yes, get the fucking, and that'd be it then, wouldn't it? I'd be fired.
But you have to have lots to say, and you have to say it quickly. Oh no, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. You're absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Mate.
Gobby is the answer.
And I'm sure you could redo it and retake it like you do on this every fucking week.
No, not a chance. Anyway, if you are interested, go onto the Wrexham AFC website. The deadline for applying is 1 minute to midnight on the 24th of October. And they may close early if it's oversubscribed. So do apply ASAP. And remember, this is a voluntary role. It's not paid. But what a fantastic thing to do. And it'd be great when they get some new commentators in to do that. Dan, something I noticed today, Tom Lockyer says that he's ready to resume his football career after a lengthy recovery following cardiac arrest, according to the BBC website. The 30-year-old Wales defender has not played a competitive match for club or country since suffering the cardiac arrest during Luton Town's Premier League fixture with Bournemouth at the Vitality Stadium in December 2023. Lockyer had previously collapsed on the field 7 months earlier than that during the Luton Town Championship playoff final win versus Coventry City at Wembley. Cardiff-born defender's recovery was further prolonged when he required ankle surgery on 2 occasions in the past year. Lockyer is currently without a club after Luton, who were relegated in May for the second successive season, told the player his contract would not be renewed when it expired last summer. Despite that, Luton ensured that the former Bristol Rovers and Charlton Athletic centre-back could continue to use their facilities and work with their physios and medical staff during his rehabilitation. Lockyer has played 16 times, of course, for Wales, his last cap coming in November 2023 and in a Euro 2024 qualifier against Turkey. Great news for Tom. Can you see him getting another club? Because obviously there is a risk there. He's had 2 heart attacks, but apparently now they've got that under control. Obviously, he's also had ankle surgery. I mean, can you see him? What level can you see him at is the question.
Well, I mean, he's a brilliant athlete. I mean, he's certainly committed, and he's shown endeavour to be able to come back from the situation. I mean, what the journey back for him has been like is it's unthinkable, really, to have gone to that situation, to be collapsing on the field a couple of times as well. It's not just the once. But I saw him, he was guest host on Feast of Football just before the last international window, and he talked about it then, and he was talking about how positive he was about getting back. He loves the idea of the camaraderie of a football club, football team, but the one he misses is the Cymru camp, and so all his mates are there. He wants to be part of it. So that was the longer, not long-term ambition, but slightly longer ambition, because he knew he had to get fitness back, and he talked about the use of the resources and stuff at Luton. So it sounds like the plan is there. I think it's been skewed by the fact that his ankle injury means he's been away for much longer than he should have been. So everybody thinks he's been unwell or unfit to play because of his heart for a long time. And that feels a bit unfair, because actually it sounds like he's had that under control. He looks well. He talks about it positively. He's clearly got his fitness getting better all the time. The ankle injury was just an absolute blow for him, really. So there's just, you feel like you're getting on top of it. You've got to do it all over again. And ankles, notoriously tricky in terms of injuries, because it's the key part of your, of the game, So you can't even keep your fitness up because you can't jog, you can't, so it's a whole bunch of sort of challenges. Whether you can get it back to the same level, I mean, if anybody can, he's one of those players who's got that determination that he'll certainly give it a good try. So I think
How old is he?
30.
How old is he?
30.
Yeah, he's not quite at the end of the career, but it depends how long it takes him to get to that fitness. Playing regularly is different to being fit as well. And so if we want to be able to utilize him properly, we need to have seen him play a decent couple of games against decent opposition. Otherwise, it's the great debate about, other players who could have made the Welsh camp, whether it's a Paul Mullin or whatever, back in the day. I do think you have to play at a level, either regularly or you train at that level regularly. And at the moment, he's not doing that. So even if he's using Luton's facilities, that's still not the level of fitness.
Did he play for Luton during their Premier League season?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
I think yeah, definitely.
But he had his heart attack, didn't he, in the playoff final? No, I don't think he has.
No,
he must have. He must have. He came back, didn't he? He came back. Yeah. So he did.
I
I
think so.
I tell you what, 30 years of age, and as long as there was from a medical kind of guarantees, and I don't mean that from the close perspective. I mean from his perspective. As long as it was like medical guarantees, they've got the heart condition under control and the ankles all healed up. Tell you what, that's a decent punt for somebody because as a former international footballer, Premier League, played Premier League level, granted, albeit only briefly, but from what I remember of seeing bits of him play, solid player, like when he's fit. So it's a good punt for somebody that.
Yeah. I mean, he had it was a very small number of games, I think. I'm just doing a quick bit of, I'm just binging it, and
Google. Hey, Dr. Google.
Binging and other verbs are available, or whatever the word is. I'm not sure. Is it a verb or is it an adjective? I can't remember. Yeah, I think he played about 14, 15 games in that season where they were in the Premier League, I think. So, not sure. So yeah, no, I think he was definitely he's definitely a player worth investing in if you think, like I said, he's got that potential. Whether or not he'll make it in time for any meaningful competitive campaign for Cymru, but he seemed determined. He absolutely seemed determined.
Yeah.
And I just think, in terms of comeback stories go, we've got David Brooks, we've got him. It's just amazing what and the desire they want to play for Cymru just says it all about what that dressing room is like. So I know they would welcome him back because he's top mates with so many of those guys as well. So so good luck to him, and hopefully we see him back in a Cymru shirt soon.
So Friday night under the lights, first one of the season down at the Stoke Kairos, and we welcomed our old friends Birmingham City for what was in the end a fairly innocuous game. Jamie, you were there. Ha ha ha! Your first game of the season as well.
First league game of the season.
Absolutely. So let's look at the lineup first, shall we? One change from the last league game versus Leicester City with Doyle coming in for Brunt. Any surprises there from your point of view? I mean, when we looked at Windas's ankle last week, it's a miracle that he was playing on that. How on earth he was playing on that, I do not know. But any other surprises or all that from that point of view?
I mean, Doyle coming in for Brunt. I guess you would have to say it was a surprise because I thought Brunt had played really well in the previous couple of games. But we don't know the full story, do we? Was he carrying a knock? Is Parky, because Doyle is such a mark signing, is there a little bit of pressure to play him if he's fit. I don't know, but I think it was a little bit of a surprise. But to be fair, I did think Doyle had a decent game. But beyond that, I was pleased to see the same team, but I was a little surprised. The one you just mentioned there, Windass being the main one. You've got Nathan Broadhead, who's been in some good form off the bench in recent games, scored a couple of important goals and good goals as well. There's got to come a point where he needs to be, in the team. I know you can't just always beat him around the head with the fee, because that's not his fault. He had no control of what Wrexham paid for him. But the bottom line is that, if you are paying that kind of money for a player at this level, surely that is somebody that is being earmarked as a starter eventually. So I was a bit surprised with that. And just purely the fact that it was, 2 games in 4 days. I was a little bit surprised there weren't a couple of other changes, but like I say, I was quite pleased that it was the same team, because we played, did well against Leicester.
I mean, as Jamie's mentioned there, Broadhead not starting, even though he seems to be, putting in some goals now. You quite surprised the fact that Broadhead isn't kind of put in that starting position a bit more often, or is this part of Parky's plan and feels that Broadhead is better as an impact sub?
Well, he's certainly proving to himself to be. So, he's not wrong with that assessment if that's the one he's going with, because he is an impressive impact sub. Whether or not you would want to try a bit more often and capitalize on that quality for longer, bring him on from the beginning, play him until he's knackered, and then move to a different tactic. But I just wonder, you guys talk about the way that the wing play works and all of that sort of through the midfield. I just think is changing that style, the default style, too much of a change in one hit? And so is this a gradual change where you've got your big man up front for as much as you can, we know what you're doing there, but then if that's not working, you can't knock through, then you bring on Broadhead, or it's a closer, it's a different type of player, all the defenders are knackered, he's fast, he's lethal in front of goal, so it just changes the dynamic in a very different way to marking the big guy. So I think at some point he could and will. The price tag, like you said, Jamie, I just feel that's skewing things really. I think he just liked him as a player. I think he's got quality. He was interested in playing for the club. But to come from the quality club that he was at before, they were obviously thinking, we're not going to lose this player without a decent fee. And so they probably negotiated really heavily for that. I think he's got all the potential. Whether or not he's worth that figure, like you said, it's not his fault. It's not the measure of him. Let's put it that way.
I think the long-term plan for him is, I think at the minute, because George Dobson has played and been playing so well, I think that's given Parky a little bit of a problem that he wasn't expecting to have. I think the long-term intention would be probably to play Sheaf and O'Brien in the middle, and then have Windass and Broadhead off of Kiefer Moore. That's, because this new 3-4-2-1 formation, which he's now kind of adopted. I think his intention, his first choice will be long term to have Sheaf and O'Brien as the two in the centre, with Windass and Broadhead off of Kiefer Moore, or everyone being fit. That's what I think he's trying to get to. But like I say, at the minute, I think Dobson has given him a very welcome headache, because he's arguably been our best player this season so far.
I mean, we've seen the genesis, haven't we, of this 3-4-2-1. Do you think it's kind of working, or do you think Parky still needs to do a little bit more tinkering?
I like it better than the 3-5-2 or the 5-3-2, whichever way you look at it, that we started the season. Our traditional Parky-esque. It's not a monumental change, but I do like the change. I think the main thing for me is that it's closed the gaps between the lines. I think in those first few games of the season, there were times during those games against good opposition where you could have driven a bus through the gaps in between the midfield and the forwards, and between the midfield and the defence. And I think this kind of box in the midfield with the two holding and the two further forward, and having good wing players as well. That's really important. I think Kabore has been. Even though he wasn't necessarily amazing against Birmingham, there were times during that game where he is just. You can see why he's signed to a Premier League club. He's just unbelievable. And I think the more game time he gets under his belt and the more games he plays, he's just going to get better and better. But yeah, I think I do like the tweak to the formation. I do prefer it. I'm probably going to get pelters for this, but it's not enough. I think there needs to still be more variation, because I think one thing which was very evident in this game was, Kiefer Moore probably had his worst game in a Wrexham shirt. And that's not me being overly critical of him directly. At the end of the day, he puts an awful lot of work into these games. He put a major shift in against Leicester. But because we've said before, we've built our system very much to play to his strengths. We haven't got a plan B if he is not available. Now, I know he's been available, but there's only so much effectiveness he can have. And I think that game against Birmingham, he was pretty non-existent in that game, to be fair. And I think it highlights the fact of, well, from an attacking perspective, what are our other options? Smith never even made it on the pitch. Hardy wasn't even on the bench.
No.
There needs to be a bit more. There needs to be a bit more flexibility with the tactics, and a little bit more creativity, I think. But I credit where credit's due. I said it on my recording that I sent a couple of weeks ago after the Norwich game when he made the change for the first time. Credit where it's due. He realised he has to change something. He has tweaked it slightly, and it is working better. But there needs to still be, variation.
Well, Storm Amy did its best to try and disrupt everything, because we had quite blustery conditions, although not as bad as I was fearing it was going to be. Jamie, obviously you were there. Do you want to give us a rundown of what you saw in your 90 minutes, or do you want me to do what I was doing when you're not watching the matches and just?
Well, before I mention anything about the game, I did mention this to you briefly at the game, but I didn't send you the video because I just didn't have the time. But I've got to mention a home day footy scran review. I know I'm going off piste a little bit here, but I've got to mention this because it was unbelievable. So on the way to the ground, and obviously people who've been to the Kairos or go to the Kairos will know, but on the way up to the ground, there is I think it's a Majestic Wine and a mobility shop or something, a couple of retail units. And in the car park there was a van called Steak In It, as in steak in it, mate. And as I was approaching it, starving hungry, I said to the missus, I'm going to go and have a look at that. Now, I went over and the smell just literally slapped me around the face. And I looked at the menu, picked myself up off the floor at the prices, and then looked at the menu again. But honestly...
And that takes stars out of the equation then. There we go.
Honestly, right, the reason why I'm mentioning it is because obviously you've done these away day reviews, which I'm sure you'll do more of. And so far, yours, you've been saying that most of the stuff you've had is being shite and overpriced.
Yep.
To be fair, right, this they had, fresh steaks and fries, burgers, all sorts of stuff, and I went for a crispy chili beef on fries. Now, the painful bit was it was 17 quid.
Oh,
right?
Jeez Louise!
But
holy moly!
But I will find and I will send you the little video of the actual picture of it, right? I swear to God, it was like something being served from a restaurant, but from a van. It was
just an heart attack.
Like I say, but bear in mind.
Thank you, Susan. I'm fine.
But bear in mind, you paid, what was it, 9 quid for a horrible burger at Southampton?
Yeah, no,
right?
True.
So it was a big portion. It was freshly cooked. And honestly, I ate it and it was absolutely out of this world. The best football food I've ever had at any ground. I've been lucky to be able to go to some amazing grounds.
Next time I go to the home match, I will give that a try.
Yeah, please do. It's amazing.
I'm sorry, but for 17 quid, it has to be the bloody best food you've
Honestly,
ever had in the football ground.
Daz wants to meet the cow itself, I think.
I'd like to meet the owner and work out his business model and work out how to get a part in that. Really, quite frankly, that seems very good.
Well, the business owner was when I paid him. He was stood behind the till. He had like 18-karat gold all over him, and he was like a gold tooth and that. But no, I'm not denying it's crazy expensive for football food. But I'm mentioning it because we talk on here about like crap food all the time. And obviously it wasn't exclusive to Wrexham fans. It was on the walk up to the ground. So for away fans as well, if that van is there, home or away fans, try it. Please try it because it's unbelievable.
Are you looking for a sponsorship? Is that what you're doing? It sounds like you are.
Look, the Eat
So
More
if you
Chips,
want to sponsor us.
yeah, the Eat More Chips podcast sponsored by Steak In It. And I'll happily waive any fee and just have food. That's fine. No problem.
Hey, hang on a second. You can't make arbitrary decisions like that. It's between the three of us. Oh, King Canute over there. Now he's got his big internet. He thinks he's in charge. What's going on there? Anyway, let's get back.
The fact that he's dreaming of a fee. Oh, I love that.
Let's get back to the football.
Anyway, let's get back to the football,
shall we?
Yes, the football. Right. So, brilliant to be back. A game under the lights is always special. But obviously, with it being my first league game of the season as well, it was brilliant to be back. I thought it was, like you say, the back end of the bloody storm. That did have a little bit of an impact on the game because the wind was still a little bit causing a little bit of havoc. But the game itself was crazy because at half time, I'm sat there and I said to you and to obviously Fonzie's dad that sits next to us. I said I thought from what I was watching, we were unbelievable. I thought we were really, really good in that first half, and I thought we were miles better than Birmingham, and I thought they offered very little. And then earlier on, I looked at the stats, and then I was like, "Hang on, is this the same game?" Because the stats don't tell the story of what I saw on the pitch. That was my kind of take of it. Because if you look at the stats, they had loads more of the ball, which is common for any Wrexham game, home or away. But they had five chances in the first half, 2 on target, and I'm like, I thought the stats were from a different game. If I park that for a minute and just try and base it on what I saw, I was really impressed in the first half. I thought we moved the ball around well. We were on the front foot. I thought we went at them, which is something that we've been critical of in the past, that we don't go at teams enough. We got a reasonably early goal, and a good goal it was as well too. Good, nice reward for George Dobson's recent performances. I think, like I said before, I think arguably he's been
poor defending by them. Don't get me wrong.
Terrible defending, because by leaving the man on the post, they have to make sure that they're touch tight to the players in the box. You can't leave a man free because he's going to be onside, and that's what they did. And good reactions from him, and a deserved goal.
The keeper puts his hand up thinking he's off. He immediately goes for the offside shout, and then suddenly looks across and went, "Oh yeah, no, he's over there."
Yeah.
Well, I didn't realise, because their keeper James Beadle, that was his first league start. And to be fair, he looked like he had crisp packet hands at some points because he was doing lots of flapping when he was trying to.
He's on loan, isn't he, from Brighton? He's a Premier League keeper, isn't he, from Brighton? But yeah, like I say, to be fair to Dobbo, it was good instinctive kind of putting his head where it needed to be, and nice to see him getting a goal. And I think that was 13, 14 minutes into the game, and I think just rewards for our start to the game, because I thought we started the game really well, and as the half went on, I genuinely felt like we were in total control and Birmingham offered very little. When I watched the highlights back, there were a couple of chances from Birmingham, for Birmingham in that first half.
Damari Gray was particularly difficult, wasn't he? He was causing a lot of problems. Let me just rewind back a little bit. Because I think this is an important bit. 18 minutes, Lewis O'Brien again, one-on-one with the keeper.
That was going to be my next thing. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, and it's easy for me to sit here now and say, he said when he missed that, we're going to regret it. But I did genuinely think when he missed that, I'm concerned here, because you can't afford to not take chances like that. Half chances are going to come and go, but when you have, I think what we're learning in this Championship League is that you have to be ruthless. When you get chances, you have to be ruthless. They made a clinical mistake at the back. You can't pass the ball across your 18-yard box line like he did blindly. And in fairness to Lewis O'Brien and like Kachi, he was another one that I was really looking forward to seeing him in the flesh, because in fairness, you get a very different perspective on players and on the game when you're seeing it in the stadium versus watching it on TV, which is pretty obvious. But I was really looking forward to seeing Lewis O'Brien and Kabore. They were the two that I was really looking forward to seeing, just purely because what I've seen of them so far this season. And I tell you what, you can absolutely see, albeit he wasn't able to sustain it for the 90 minutes, but which is understandable given how much he puts into it. But you can absolutely see why Lewis O'Brien was at a Premier League club. He is and why some people have touted him as like arguably the best midfielder in this league. He is unbelievable. His work rate and the effort he puts in is absolutely unbelievable. And then he's got the quality to add to it as well.
Let's do a but there. Just stop there for 1 second. So Daz, he's one-on-one with the keeper. He misses. This is the third example we've seen in 3 matches of him being in a similar position where he's been on goal on his own and either not got it on target or hit it directly at the keeper. As Jamie has just said, in this division, you have to take your chances. Is this going to start to become a major problem if we're relying on him to score goals and he's continually getting to great positions but not able to finish?
But I think if you're not getting into those positions, that for me is the cardinal sin. I think you have to keep making those runs. You still have to get those balls put through, and those finishes will come. I do think so. If you're not getting yourself into those positions, then that's more of a worry for that kind of, for that concern. I just think, he's had a couple of one-on-ones, but I've seen other strikers go on periods where they keep fluffing it. Whether or not they get too much time to think about it, whether or not the goalkeepers do a good job. He might have scuffed one of them, but the other ones were 2 good goalkeeping saves for all I know. You know what I mean? It's there's lots of factors to factor in. The fact that he's there, he's on side, he's getting a good touch to begin with, or at least putting it in front of him, so he's whatever the situation is. I think those chances will come. I don't think you'll rue them too much, personally.
To be fair, you make a great point, because like one of the ones you're talking about, Si, was against Southampton, and to be fair, you have to put that down as a good save, a great save. That because it was a brilliant save. You could be critical all you want of the attacker, but that was a brilliant save. So, I think the only thing with O'Brien being in that position, or finding himself quite consistently in that position, partly it's because of his work rate and because he closes down and he harries and he badges to cause defenders to make mistakes. But then the other thing as well is going back to what we were saying before about Broadhead. Longer term, if we end up with this scenario where you've got Broadhead, Windass as the 2 forward midfielders playing off a striker, Broadhead in that position, would he be more clinical? Who knows? But you'd assume so. But when he missed that, my first thought when he missed that, because we were playing so well at that point, was we need to try and get another goal. But I was confident we were going to get another goal because we just felt like we were completely on top. But then when we got to half time and we were only 1-0 up, reflecting on that miss, there was a little bit of a feeling of, I hope that's not going to come back to bite us in the arse. And unfortunately, it proved to do so.
I mean, Damari Gray missed a fairly decent chance on 30 minutes. He missed an absolute major one on 43 minutes where he fired it over just before half time, because that was the one where Kabore slipped. So the ball came over, Kabore slipped, and he had the ball and he was on his own and just fired it high and wide. So I think by half time, being only 1-0 up, I was like you, I was nervous, thinking, we need to. And my thing in my head was, right, we need to come out and just score early. We score early, we put this game to bed, because I don't think Birmingham have got 2 goals in them. No. And what happens?
Well, I suppose if you
22 seconds of horror. 22 seconds of horror.
I guess if you're trying to be fair, and balanced, you have to say it was a good attacking move. It was a great run. It was a good through ball, and it was a good finish. But from a defensive point of view, I would imagine that, if Parky had a cat next to him, it would have got a severe kick. Although, just talking about cats, while I remember, it did make me laugh. When I sent my videos last week On one of them, my cat was dicking around in the blinds, and I stopped to I didn't hit him. I clapped the thing next to him. Somebody sent me a comment saying Jamie's the new Kurt Zuma, which made me laugh. But no cats were hurt. I didn't touch him.
No cats harmed in the making of this podcast.
Yeah.
Not your cat anyway.
No, not my cat. I just whacked next to him. But anyway, but no, I mean, Parky would have been fuming, wouldn't he, by that? Just purely because anything he would have said at halftime completely went out the window, and then that completely changed the game. I mean, I don't think any of us were naive enough to think that Birmingham weren't going to come out and improve in the second half, because they were poor, despite what the stats say. They were generally in that first half. They were poor, so they were always going to improve. They've got too much quality to not improve. But I think by conceding that goal so early, it completely played into their hands, because obviously then we never got going. I didn't think we got going at all in the second half, and it was absolute totally Jekyll and Hyde performances. The first half, we were good, we were positive, we were proactive, we were on the front foot, and I genuinely thought we could, we could win that game 2 or 3-0. And then in the second half, and in all honesty, we were lucky. If they had the ball in the net later on in the game, which was offside, and it was rightly offside. I was unsure on the night, because obviously where we sit, you can't see. But when I watched the replay back, it was absolutely offside. But it was a great finish, and we were fortunate that he was offside. So disappointingly, after the first half, you would have to say that the draw was a fair result. But disappointing from our perspective, given how we played in the first half, and really disappointing, because I think Daz predicted 1-1 last week, didn't he? So
we will get to that later. I'm sure we will. Wrexham. I mean, Daz, Wrexham now without a win in 5 home league games. Draws, yes, but no wins. We've gone complete opposite from being this fortress to now. Do you feel it started to become a problem? Because it's starting to become something where we're going, okay, now we can't win. It's not a case of we're not winning. Fans are saying we can't win at home now.
No, I don't think so, because I mean, okay, admittedly, the QPR one was a bit of a disappointment, I guess, from memory. I think that one was a bit of a surprise. But if we're talking Birmingham, tough opponents, who else have you played?
Derby.
West Brom.
Okay, the Leicester was away, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just think some of these opponents are quite tough. I think there's been an adjustment. I think all of that time, the pressure's been building when you're at home and you've got all these new players, and the pressure's been building on the team to gel and begin to click, which I think we've seen lots of signs over the last few games of that improvement. So initially there was a bit of a settling in, but I think you've been competitive. I think you've given good, teams a good run for it. I think you've been in games where even when you were, just holding on. I think there was still some quality. There's some games where you dominated, but maybe not get the results you want. I think there's a mixture, but I don't know. I wouldn't. If you let it get into your heads about it, I think that people might start feeling a little bit more concerned about it. But I just think it's a bit circumstantial, really. It's not that many games in a row. I appreciate that you're basing it a lot as well on the history of the last couple of seasons where it's been a fortress. This is a different league, different level of opponents, and I just can't imagine this would have been the case anyway.
You've absolutely got to acknowledge the quality of the opposition now in this league as well. I think Daz is absolutely spot on. I think we're as a home crowd, we're maybe a little bit blinded by what we've done at home in last few seasons. It created, like you say, created a fortress. But with the greatest respect to any team that we've played in previous divisions, what we're learning now every week, and I think I said it a couple of weeks ago, is there are no weak teams in this league. Every one of these teams has got at least a couple of players, and then as you go up further towards the top end, multiple players who are absolute top draw. And I think one thing's for sure, one thing that I have learned over the last few games is my stupid, 3 or 4-0 against Derby prediction. I'm not sure I can see us blowing a team away like that at all this season. I'm not saying it won't happen, because you might just get a fluke game, but I think most games this season, home and away, are going to be quite tight, I think.
Well, I mean, obviously, we've not been, apart from maybe the QPR result, which was 3-1, we've not been pumped. We are keeping it tight. Do you think that Jamie is starting to fix the defensive frailties that we kind of started the season with? Now he's obviously playing around with Brunt and Doyle. He seems happy with Hyam. And there was a great piece this week with the Fearless Boys where they talked to Coventry podcast, and they're basically saying, yeah, what an amazing player, and they didn't really want to lose him or whatever. So I mean, he's sorry, that's Sheaf, isn't it, in midfield? But obviously Hyam going in the middle as well. He's starting to put the pieces together. Do you think he's actually starting to fix the defensive frailties?
I think you've got to give credit to Parky, but also to the players as well. I think, like Dad said a minute ago, and I think we did say it at the time at the start of the season, over the course of as the games, the more games you play, with so many new players, so many changes, it was going to take time for them to gel together. I think, like we said before, credit to Parky, he's made a slight tactical change, which has helped the defensive shape of the team. I think the back three, I think Hyam has made a big difference, although he hasn't necessarily been. Let me think. If you think about maybe like Ben Tozer a couple of seasons ago, maybe the National League winning season, where he was like dominated at the back, and he was head and shoulders above everybody else. I think Hyam hasn't necessarily dominated the opposition, but he's been very, very steady. And I think, let's put it this way, he certainly looked more comfortable than Connor Cody did, which is a crazy thing to say when you consider Connor Cody's pedigree. But I think Max has improved. I think he took him a few games to adjust to the Championship, and albeit
he did well against Stansfield on Friday, because he
always does,
doesn't
he?
Yeah, absolutely.
He always does. But I think he's improved. And then, like you say, this left-hand side is an interesting one, because again, you assume Doyle, and I know you shouldn't use Price as a marker, but you've got to understand that if you're paying these kind of fees, it's for a reason. And he comes with loads of credentials and loads of positive comments. I mean, what was really interesting though was we were chatting about Doyle in the Birmingham game, me and Fonzie's dad, and he said he thought he was quick, and I said I think that's the one part of his game that he's lacks in. His distribution is unbelievable. He's a decent tackler, but one thing that I think, and what I'd heard about him before he came to us from other clubs, and what is glaringly obvious to me, is that he's not quick. And it's surprising, because considering he's a young lad, you'd think he'd have more pace than he has, but he's not particularly quick. But yes, that back three seems to be a little bit more settled now, whoever he puts on the left-hand side. But I think the change in midfield by having Sheaf, I think, has made a big difference. I mean, I assume he keeps getting taken off, at 60 minutes the last few games, because he's not properly match fit yet, because obviously I think he missed a lot of the pre-season with Coventry. Again, like O'Brien, and like you've just said there, I've heard Coventry supporters say the same thing, that they were gutted to lose him. I mean, given how they're flying at the minute, you have to say, in fairness, Frank Lampard has made the right decision. But from our point of view, I think that's, if we can keep him fit, and he can gets his match fitness up, he is a brilliant player. His distribution is unbelievable. The thing for me I've noticed about him is his awareness and positioning on the pitch. He always seems to be in the right place at the right time, but without busting his balls. It's not like as if he's herring around everywhere. He just seems to glide across the turf, but he always seems to be in the right place at the right time. So yeah.
I mean, Daz, Wrexham finished the week 18th in the league, 4 points from the relegation zone, but only 5 points from the playoff places. So there's no reason to panic, is there? There's no. I mean, 9 games in, there is no reason to go, mad and
Park
go,
it out.
oh, it's all disaster. Park it out.
Yeah, back out. No, I don't think
Welcome
so.
back, Jamie. Welcome back.
No, I mean, I think I don't want to say you've got a buffer from the drop zone really, but you're 4 points clear of was it Oxford or somebody who's in the bottom 3 or something like that, and Sheffield Wednesday. So there's a little bit of grace that you can have a bit of a dodgy result here or there, but you've also had a couple of good results, and that's pinged you further up. So you bounce around the middle. Birmingham, not have finding it just as tough. But there are teams like Southampton who absolutely some of us had,
Well, you look at the teams. You can look at the teams that are currently below us: Norwich, Derby, Blackburn.
Yeah,
are the 3 teams directly below us.
Yeah, I wouldn't
Let's-
say their caliber is historic. I wouldn't say they're the teams that have been flying high. Whereas the
No.
teams that we would have predicted to be stronger would have been something like a Southampton, maybe Birmingham with all the hype that went with it. But they've proven themselves. I mean, the teams that are at the top. I mean, the surprises are Coventry are doing so well, but that's fine. Middlesbrough, I think we knew would be there or thereabouts, but would they be top of the table? Not, Leicester. Predictably, perhaps because we think their parachute payments keep the team as much as together as possible. They sold,
but again, there are strong rumours they're going to get a points deduction at some point. So I would imagine any points they can bank now is going to try and protect them from that.
Yeah,
If it is as bad as everybody says,
Preston
so, North End is the one for me.
Preston, that's the one I was going to say. Yeah. Who'd have had them down in that way? So, I think there's a bit of a surprise. I think it's kind of leveled out in the middle there. I think you're going to end up shuffling around quite a bit. The likes of a Millwall and Ipswich will drop down, then a Watford or a Swansea will go out. I just think it's all to play for. Is very early. I mean, international breaks don't help in these situations for some teams. This might be a blessing in some ways. Regroup, refresh. I appreciate there's half the team are missing because they're playing for Wales. But there's it's a good time to regroup at this time when you've had some close calls, time to think about the recent games at home. And yes, I get if we can get a decent sort of if the run is decent of games, even if they're close draws or whatever, then I think you'll be okay. I think you'll be okay. I think I always imagined you'd be somewhere in the middle. I just think the middle is a really big section there. That's all.
It is, yeah. It does definitely seems to be. Well, 48 hours later, we all pitched our tents at the Swansea.com stadium as Wrexham Women played Swansea City Women in the Gennaro Adran Premier. Lineup first as 2 changes from the previous game versus Pontypridd. Davis in for Allen and Suckley in for Mahmood. So 2 things. One, keeping Idenden in obviously worked, which was great. Were you surprised, though, that she kept Mahmood on the bench? Because Mahmood seems to be quite a playmaker at the moment.
Yeah, but I think, we've talked about it before, didn't we, about the fact that there's a lot of good players playing some really, very effective football when they're coming on. And she's got a challenge now to keep them all happy and rotate, keep them fit. And if the fact you've got Mahmood to come off the bench should you need to, it's a fantastic option. In the same way, Idenden came on for the bench a couple of times, Suckley, has done the same. So I think this is quite a clear and positive example of how the team squad's been bolstered in so much depth now that you've got all of these options. So I think you want to keep them happy. You want to make sure that the fact that you've invited players to come and play for you, the assumption is that they just immediately want to be in the starting. Of course they do. Everybody wants to start, but you've got a lot of players there that have deserved a starting place. And so I think it's team management at this stage.
Well, a highly competitive game with Jenny Sugarman tinkering a little bit again with the formation, which is great to see. But thankfully this week, it wasn't a kind of a mess up too far like it was potentially against the TNS game. Wrexham didn't take long to make their mark, Daz. 7 minutes. Pressure from Idenden on the defence. Yeah. Defence made some really sloppy passes and then straight to the feet of Eva Suckley. were you expecting then what she did? Because again, this is all gonna come back to keepers, but I don't think the keeper's in the wrong in this one. To be brutally honest with you,
nothing on the keeper. There's absolutely nothing on the keeper. So let's move away from that subject.
yeah.
I at least give me the chance to credit a team without going it down the route of a goalkeeper. No, I think on this occasion, yes, it's down to the defense, Swansea defense, loose pass or at least a loose touch. So the first touch wasn't good. Ball drifts away, kind of into some open space, and then Suckley just runs onto it and quite clearly sees the goalkeeper. And I don't even say the goalkeeper's that far off her line.
No.
It's such a quality strike. Full laces, straight over the top. Keeper's desperately trying to get back and try and get a hand to it, but it's so perfectly pitched and over, straight in early as well, early in the game. I mean that makes the difference. When you've got, I'm not going to say a grudge match, but this is one of your key rivals. You really want to make sure you get in, and so to be able to have got on the score sheet within 7 or 8 minutes is a great start really, and sort of set the tone. But there was some good passages to play all the way through that first half, but that was a period where you saw pressure. Leading to mistakes, and mistake then left it wide open for Suckley's goal. So yeah, impressive stuff.
I mean, 11 minutes. Wrexham continued to be dominant, which was great. This second goal for me, this was. I know, Ava's was brilliant, but this for me was the goal of the game for me, because this reminded me of Craig Bellamy's goal against Italy with the pass from John Hartson, because it was a beautiful slip pass by Lily Jones, cut out the entirety of the midfield and most of the defence, and then Barker just runs onto it and just takes it and goes. I mean, what a goal!
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, the timing is everything. I think you're absolutely right. It does have elements of that. When I'm sensing, because I've never seen Barker play before she joined Wrexham. So when she's holding that line, playing the line, she was running through there was a strong defensive line all the way through from Swansea. It was quite high. It was pushing up to the halfway line quite a lot.
I mean, they were doing that a lot, weren't they? And I think that was part of the. I don't know. Maybe you think differently, but that was a major problem. I thought that they were, and they seemed to stick to that, which I think was a bit silly, really.
I think if you've been training that way, we've seen it in the Prem, we've seen it in other sort of things. Liverpool famously were doing it, and Virgil and people like that. And I think you just have to, once you've drilled it and you play it and you want to play it, and you've got to be strong at it. You've got to hold it. You've all got to be committed to holding your nerve. And yes, it will take a moment then for somebody to spring that trap. If you've got at least somebody with a bit of pace in your back four, then they could chase back. If I'm going to use Liverpool as a perfect example of Virgil coming back and being that extra person, or Alisson coming out and closing down, you've got to make the striker's got to then be good. He's got to finish. He's got to do what they need to do. But if you can spring that trap, it leaves you wide open. I think this is an example where Wrexham's the through ball is phenomenal, perfectly timed run, and she's been doing a few of these runs. You could see her sort of jetting through, just pushing through, and so the pass was on, like you said, they were holding that line. I think for the first time that line looked slightly a bit jagged, and her first touch puts the ball in front of her neatly. I would say that the finish was solid, nice and low. I wouldn't say it's right in the corner, but it's a really well struck shot. There's no fluffing it, and it's so well struck, and it's past the keeper before she's had a chance to really move. So quality finish, and that's what you want from your pacey number 9 type role up front.
I mean, 13 minutes. So I mean, Swansea must have been in punch drunk, because 13 minutes, Edinburgh nearly made it 3. Barker down the wing, puts it beautifully into the middle of the box. She's on her own in the middle of the box, hits it straight at the keeper, and the keeper makes a save. I mean, we've just been talking about Lewis O'Brien taking chances. I mean, is that a chance that Edinburgh really should have put away?
We know she could do better. But if we're going to give her the laws of averages on the fact that the number of chances she's had, she has finished them compared to this one. She doesn't miss many in that way. She's a class act. If the golden rule, isn't it? If you're going to be on goal, at least make the goalkeeper work for it. If the goalkeeper saves it, then well done. Credit to the goalkeeper, but at least put some put it in such a way that the goalkeeper's got to make the effort, and so
Yeah.
they'd be disappointed with that. But again, the number of times we've seen strikes like that, even from the likes of Kiefer Moore and stuff like that, it's just sometimes you just snap at it, you just and it's a hurried decision. Pressure from the defense sometimes helps. Goalkeeper making the decision by twitching or moving and just trying to sort of there's a whole range of reasons. Yeah, she'll be disappointed, but I don't think, again, I think she's proven the right to have a go at these kind of shots because she's scored so many of them beforehand. I think for sure.
Have you been practicing saying Abby's name? You've said it twice there without stuttering.
I know, I have been.
It does sound like he's been doing that, hasn't he?
Thanks very much. Yeah, cheers. Thank you for that. They've just bought 2 new. We will go in a bit. We've just signed 2 new players. I guarantee you, one of their names I'm going to trip over very soon. So by the time I fix one, there'll be another problem. That seemed to kind of wake Swansea up a little bit, because then they started to get a bit more into the game. I want to talk about the Swansea goal. Stacey John Davis, we know how dangerous she is. We've seen it many, many times. She is an out-and-out, attacking midfielder. She plays off the shoulder. She absolutely parks herself right in the middle of the channels. So you've got to be super tight. I've looked back at this goal, and I've gone, well, do you know what? There's not a lot I can criticise the defence about. It's more about the skill of Stacey John Davis. Am I right in that, or is that a bit
partly? No, I think partly right. The Wrexham backline is it's not too deep. It's not too deep. So so it's there's a gap. It's not so high up that it's a huge gap, just like we've just been criticising Swansea for. So there's and they're holding their line. Then they're keeping an eye on the wingers and keeping an eye on the runners coming through. So everything about that is good. I just think the ball through the midfield, I think it's their number 8 in their own half, pops it over the top, finds the space. So it's a brilliantly weighted pass.
Absolutely.
Give that. I think that's what makes that goal. I would argue that the midfield is partially at fault for giving her that much time space to make it. It was an easier pass because she was under no pressure at all. So I would say that closing down those gaps, making the Swansea midfielder rush the shot a bit more, making decisions quicker. She had too much time. She sees Stacey's run going through the middle there, and plays it brilliantly into her path. But of course, she's still got to finish it. Runs onto it. Are
you going to criticise Leslie Craven? Wait for it, everybody. Wait for it.
No.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
No. I think what we've got to credit is that the first touch, takes it closer, and you think, right, actually, Lizzie's getting herself back into a really good position. She's come out originally, realised that she's going to be left stranded. She's not going to get to the ball first, so she starts tracking back. And sometimes when you watch goalkeepers tracking back like that, they kind of they lose their position within the goal. I actually think she's got herself spot on, with close enough to the near post to stop a cheeky little, ball through at her feet, and she's ready for the shot. I think what we have to do again is credit Stacey John Davis for it's a sort of like a lofted little sort of lob over to the far post, and has found the one bit of space that Lizzie was never going to get to, and that's again the nature of the goalmouth one-on-one situations that you find yourselves in. She got it spot on, lobbed it neatly over the top. There was no other defender tracking back to get back in time, really. So there was nobody running to get onto the goal line to back her up as a goal line save or anything like that. So it was just one-on-one, and it was at the deftest of touches, and it was a good finish. So no, I can't fault that. I think the same. Too much room in the midfield for me just made that easier than it should have been.
I genuinely thought you were going to have a go at the goalkeepers for the first 3 goals. I'll be honest.
I think he knows better by now, doesn't he? To be honest with you, I think even if he thinks that, he just keeps.
Well, no, okay. I mean, the second one, it is quite. The keeper could have moved their feet and gone a little bit over. I do think that it wasn't tucked into the corner, but like I've said for the last 2 years, there's that area around the goalmouth, because the stature of the goalkeepers, you tuck it into the corners, and you've got that. You've got a better chance of scoring. That's simple as that.
To be honest, if you had to criticise the keeper on the first 3, I'd have agreed with you, because that was my thoughts. I'll be honest. As much as you're right about Ava Suckley's goal, it was technically a brilliant strike. You've got to question the goalkeeper. it's not like as if it was like top bins, and then our second goal was literally at her feet. It wasn't in the corner. It was a great move, and again, credit to the Wrexham players, but it was right at her feet.
I think she'd been fooled. Whether it was the eyes or anything, you can see her body movement go the wrong way, so she's had to check. So she's not getting enough time to throw herself to the right. So what happens is she literally just falls to her right, because I think her body motion's gone to her left, and she just hasn't got the capacity to spring back the other way. I think it's a clever finish, and I think Barker's given her the eyes, but obviously can't see it from that far away. But no, it's I think I have to give the goalkeeping a little bit of grace in those situations, because
Okay.
I don't think they're horribly at fault. Not like the last couple of weeks where it's gone through their arms and through their hands, or back passes that have gone terribly wrong, or trying to play it out like a baller, when actually really you just need to hoof it up and just get it over the halfway line.
That's the one thing I'm doing in my notes here, Daz, and I'll ask you a question in a second, Jamie. This week we cut out the mistakes. There were no mistakes that gifted goals. Stacey John Davis's goal was a well-worked goal. You might have, like you say, you might have things about the midfield, too much room, keeper's position, maybe, but I think that's nitpicking. It wasn't a gift, and I think that's important. To cut that out, isn't it? Those are the important things.
Definitely. And even when you look at the third goal, it's a really well worked goal. The passing seemed to be slicker and better. It was going to feet. I mean, I don't think they were particularly overrun by Swansea at any time, really. There was
that 10-15 minute spell in the first half where Swansea had really started to put the pressure on. But the good thing is that we didn't lose our head. And this is the question I want to ask Jamie, because obviously you've been away for a few weeks, so we've not got your latest take on how you think the women are doing. Obviously, up to half-time, that means we're 2-1 down. We played fantastically well. Swansea come back. They're then back on the ascendancy. Now, we saw last season us fall to pieces in Swansea games, if you remember. We would take the high ground, and then Swansea would come back, and then we'd be panicking a bit towards the end. Or we'd be fighting, and we'd just about get to a draw. I didn't feel that on Sunday. I felt that we were going to be in control, and I really felt coming out second half. Jenny had got everybody back into the changing room and said, right, stick with the plan. This is what we're doing. Here's your formation. Blah 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 blah. We've got subs to come on, and they're going to come on at the right time. We're going to bring Rosie Hughes on. We're going to bring Maz Mahmood on. We're going to bring blah blah blah, which was great. Do you feel that there is that first of all, what do you think of the women? How do you think the women are doing so far, and what you've seen? Secondly, do you think there is that cultural shift of they're more comfortable with the mental side of the game, as in when they go down and the pressure comes on, they don't panic and they stick to the process?
Just before I answer that, completely unrelated, please cancel the 10,000 Daz hates goalkeepers t-shirts. Sorry, I just needed to send that. No, look, I think it's been tricky the last few weeks, because I've not been able to watch a lot of football full stop, and I've struggled to try and keep on top of the women's games. Watched all the highlights and everything else, but I've seen bits and pieces. I think the one thing that I would say, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I know you've seen most of, if not all of, the games in full, but there looks to be a distinctively different style of play under Jenny Sugarman. How can I say this without it sounding really rude? It almost looks like they're playing a far superior quality of football now, and that to me looks like it's down to the personnel, because obviously she's brought, we lost a lot of players, and I know we were all concerned about that, but obviously she's brought in quite a few players now, and credit where credit's due, she's brought in quality players. And from what I've seen of some of these players, they seem to be a lot of them are at a much higher level than what we're maybe used to, and I think integrating that in with the players that we kept hold of, who are our better players as well, is making for a much better performing team. The style and the the kind of level of the football I'm seeing looks to be very, very different and much improved on last season. I think the offensive side of the team again looks much improved. I think it looks like we move the ball around very quickly, very precisely, very effectively, and you've only got to look at the number of goals we've scored to kind of see that Chio is obviously a very offensive style of play. The concern, I guess, is the defensive side of it. We've shipped a lot of goals, but I think take that TNS game out of it a couple of weeks ago, and you have to say that overall this season, they look completely different and have been it's been a breath of fresh air. I think to answer your question about the mentality side of it, we've seen examples of it this season where you'd have to say, yes, there is a marked improvement or a marked change in the mentality. I mean, look at that was it the first game of the season where we were 2-0 down?
Yep.
To Britain Ferry, and we came back and won 5-2, I think, didn't we? There was another game recently as well where I think I'm not sure whether we went behind or whether we were ahead and then got pegged back or whatever, but there does seem to be a different mindset amongst the players. I think it's early days. There's still an awful lot of football to be played between now and the end of the season, obviously with the way this league works. But I don't know about you, but I'm already of the mindset where I'm starting to think, maybe I undercooked my prediction for where we'll finish this season, because I genuinely think, obviously this game coming up at the weekend is going to be a huge test. But I genuinely think at the moment they've got the potential to be fighting up there right at the top.
I mean, that second half, Wrexham came out. As I said, they came out with confidence, and you could see that. And 58 minutes again, and this is what Jamie's saying. There seems to be more tactical acumen there. Slip passes, looking for the gaps, players running on. These are things we weren't seeing a huge amount of last season. Am I alone in that?
No. I think you spotted so many positives. I think there's a couple of things that they've been doing well. First of all, in order to there's a bit more resolve and a bit more structure and shape. They're holding shape and they're a bit more disciplined. And I do think that that's the first phase where they're not making mistakes. A form of discipline. I appreciate that. But I mean, like choosing when to run, not when to run, when to hold their form at the back, when the midfielders are sort of overlapping. I think there just feels to be well trained. I can only assume that the tactics, the discussions, and everything that you need from a team talk, they're getting it. They're getting Jenny's way, whatever that is, and it feels absolutely slick. It feels like the passing is more accurate. Whether or not it felt less, not random, but there's sometimes a little bit of a hoof and just clear it and get it away and stuff. It feels far more structured and disciplined all the way through. So first of all, you've got that foundation. But then when those passes are going, there's some lovely running off the ball. And it's not massive. It's not huge runs. It's just really clear finding the space. And I think they spotted that Swansea had these lines where the spaces were, and they were playing through those lines really, really neatly, whether it was down the wings, around the sides, or whether it was through the middle. In fact, it was quite often through the middle, which, I was quite surprised by the amount of room they had. I do think Swansea gave them a little bit of that room. I don't think they didn't seem quite as prolifically or as I don't know. You don't normally get that space, so there's usually a bit more tenacity about them. I think it felt a bit more lackluster in that area. There was some, still some good players.
We're quite scared of Swansea because of their history, but Swansea are not the team they were 5 years ago. They've got beaten by Cardiff 3-0. We've beaten them 3-1. They are definitely in this equation. They're definitely third at the moment, aren't they, in the league? From a if you're looking at the top three.
Yeah, I think yourselves and Cardiff have obviously proven yourselves to be really, really competitive, capable of scoring good goals, getting the results, and that's why you're deservedly the top two teams in the league. I think Swansea does feel like the best of the rest. I think that was probably as stern a task, because I don't think any of the other teams particularly. I think you can have glitches, you can have mistakes, you can let teams back into games and then invite that pressure. And when the pressure came in before there was a bit of buckling here and there, and they, the team have shown themselves to be a bit, to struggle. So I think it would have been fascinating to see what this team lineup at the weekend, had Swansea got in early with those early chances, had there been a bit more dominance, or at least if they'd leveled up. You lose those 2 goals in a lead and gets back to 2-2. Would they have buckled? Would they have heads have dropped? Would they have panicked, thinking, "Here comes Swansea"? I don't think so. I think there was there was plenty on display to suggest they were more than comfortable, really happy to play through, knowing Swansea's game really well. And I just think, tactically they got the Swansea absolutely numbered. But it was that efficiency. I mean, they hit the crossbar first, so so there was, so the warning was there anyway, but the fact that the through ball to Jones was perfectly weighted.
Yes.
So again, she's there on the shoulder of the defensive line. It's a really good line. I mean, don't get me wrong, Swansea weren't poor in that situation, but there's a lovely through ball. Jones turns and is already making that move quicker than the defender. But the defender gave it a bloody good go, though. And
it's difficult to defend, isn't it? When you have a player that skillful, who is really good at the timing and playing off the shoulder, it's very, very tough and strong.
So strong. I think that's
skillful
the thing,
on the
though.
ball. Yeah.
She held that line. She kept the defender at bay and gets the touch that she needs. And you can see what it meant to her as well. That the ferocity that she wanted that more. She wanted that more in my eyes, and then the result of the celebration, is a testament to the fact that how much she wanted it. She, perhaps she's probably beating herself up that she doesn't score enough goals from certainly not this year.
But she's a midfield workhorse. The passes that she creates in midfield, that's where her strengths are. I think the goals really are a bonus.
The team have relied on her in the past, and she's added to the count. I think it's good. You hear it all the time. It's good to know that you've got goals across the team. If you've got the goals across the team, you don't have to worry about a Rosie Hughes or an Adran or a Barker missing. If you've got others who can step up and make the difference. I think she's probably one of these. She's absolutely Wrexham through and through. And she probably beats herself up that she doesn't contribute. But equally, I'd like to think the way that they're playing at the moment, the position she's holding, Jenny's given her all the freedom to say, "Look, don't worry about that. You play those passes, do what you need to do, break up the play." I mean, she's absolutely a terrier in the midfield, breaks up the play. But I love the fact that she added the extra body up front, got the numbers, a bit, not an overload because it was pretty matched, but it was the position she took on the shoulder, perfect pass that's on her side of the defender. She turns and takes it, and she was going to just absolutely get there first. And at that close range, to beat the goalkeeper, keeper comes out, tries her best to stop it, but it's a good finish. It's a really, really good finish.
Yeah. No, really, really good.
Can I just say as well, that photograph, I know this is for the visual, not for the audio people, but that photograph you've got there, Lily Jones, is bloody brilliant.
It is. It is. And you're saying that as a photo. You're saying that as a photo professional, or are you saying that?
No. But both as a photographer and just as a football fan, that is a brilliant photograph.
Yeah.
Whoever's took that, hats off to them. That's a brilliant photograph.
Absolutely. So yeah, there could have been more. Rosie Hughes was on with the keeper and just missed the post. Maz, when she came on, she was causing massive amounts of trouble. She missed, just went past the post. So there could have been more, but in the end... So,
can I just ask you a quick question about Maz Mahmood? Because, again, from what I'd seen in the first, 3-4 games, she looked to be unbelievable. So I was a bit confused why she was on the bench for this game. Is it? Do you know any reason why that was?
Well, we think this is what Jenny Sugarman, I think, is... I mean, stop me if I'm wrong, Daz. I think Jenny Sugarman is still trying to find out her team. I think she's still experimenting. She's experimenting with formations and she's experimenting with players. The fact that she left Idenden, bollocks. She left Idenden on the bench and then brought her in. Now Idenden starts, and don't forget last week she'd left Suckley on the bench. Now Suckley starts and Maz goes on the bench. I think she's... Am I wrong, Daz?
I actually want to credit her with more that she's got so many tools in her toolkit now that she can choose a different player to play against different teams at different times. I do think that there's so much scope in that midfield and attacking options that if Swansea's going to play a high line like that, then a marker's going to be great, or the ball over the top is going to be. I do think that the physicality, I think the space that Mahmood has had in other games has played to her strengths. I didn't think that space was going to be there at Swansea. Maybe it was there in sort of in patches near the end because they were getting tired and they were just, I thought the pace that Rosie Hughes brought on, she outran the defender because they'd been run ragged in the back line. So there was, when she played, like you said, she missed the post narrowly. I just think she's got lots of options. And whilst they're all fit, this is a fantastic time to be, to have them, as many of these players all playing well and fit. That then you can literally pick and choose the players you think are going to suit the tactics you want to employ. I think there's some truth to what you're saying, that it's still so early in the season. Don't forget, they start much later. There aren't that many games in the whole season. They play the same teams a lot. So there's going to be familiarization really quickly. And Jenny's not played in this division before. Other managers have come from other teams that at least have a history or an experience of playing. I was watching the footage thinking, they're playing at the Swansea.com stadium, right? So that's a decent stadium, and then they'll be probably playing Cardiff at Cardiff City Stadium, and that's a decent stadium. And then they're going to go to Park Avenue, right by the train, by the river of Aberystwyth and stuff. And there's one decent stand, and the clubhouse is up for sort of being renovated and stuff. And you've got commentators on some scaffolding. I mean, it's a world apart. Some of these grounds that are around the country.
Having said that, I went to Park Avenue last year, loved it. I'm going again this year. Open invitation to you, Daz. If you want to get in the car with us and come with us, it's a Sunday. If you fancy coming back to Aber and watching the game, I'll give you a shout, because it's not, it's great price, great. I mean, the burger was lovely, and it was, the weather was rubbish, but I was enjoying watching the steam train, so that was great. And obviously you can point out all the places of interest. So that'll take about 30 seconds.
Or places. Oh no, I was going to say places where I might have found interest.
There's a co-op. And we're done.
So there's the bar. There's the bar at the rugby club. There's the bar at the football club. There's the bar.
Well, Wrexham obviously win 3-1. First time they've won at the Swansea.com stadium against Swansea. Third time in a row they've now beaten Swansea, which I think that's a major milestone in its own, considering last season we were talking about we need to get the monkey off our back and beat Swansea and Cardiff. They've now done both. So that's gone. So we don't have to worry about that bit anymore. Wrexham obviously sitting joint top with Cardiff. Cardiff obviously have a massive goal difference, thanks to unfortunately I think Aber got a bit of a walloping on Sunday, didn't they? But lots of people got a bit of a walloping on Sunday looking at it. I mean, we'll talk about the Cardiff game in a minute because obviously it is pivotal. But at this point of the season, you're kind of thinking. You said last week, Daz, it's a 3-horse race, and I said, yeah, as long as you shoot one of the horses, it becomes a 2-horse race. Is it now becoming a 2-horse race?
It should become a 2-horse race. I think what we've seen here already is the two strongest teams proving themselves consistently. I think they're the most consistent, and so the Saints, Llansammo, Swansea. Maybe Aber could still get the odd game and win here and there. I think they're going to be off the pace. I think we've seen Wrexham purr a little bit more. Cardiff, after the initial glitch that they had, are now just, goals for fun. And I think they're the two teams that have proven it already. It should be between these two. I genuinely think it'll be an absolute travesty by either of those two teams if they let anybody else into this race anymore.
Now, the Much Chips podcast, it's time for today's newspaper, tomorrow's chip paper, where we catch up on Cymru and Wrexham football news. First up, Wrexham Academy Under-18s played Swansea City Under-18s in the Under-18s Professional Development League Cup and lost 2-0. That puts them bottom of Group B. They will need to beat Swindon Town under 18s on 22nd of November and hope that Cardiff beat Swansea to have any chance of progressing to the knockout stages in this competition. Jamie, you've been missing for a couple of weeks. There's one thing that we've noticed now that obviously the club have not announced, it doesn't mean there isn't, but the club have not announced a new academy manager, a new PDP coach, etc. and so on. I'm getting words out of the academy that they're still trying to find their feet and trying to work out what those things are. And you have seen a downturn in results from beating teams, 4-2 and all this. It's went to draws and now we're going to losses. Are we concerned that the academy is being cut adrift a bit and not really given the attention that it requires so early in the season?
What do you mean? The communication? Poor from Wrexham? Never. I think I don't know whether concern is the right word. It's disappointing, isn't it? Because we seem to have made
to lose to the Jacks. It's very disappointing.
Quite significant strides forward. 18 months, 2 years ago, and it all seemed to be, ramping up and gathering pace and really moving in the right direction, both with personnel, with facilities, like you say, the performances, and then it's just kind of come to an emergency stop with obviously lots of key people leaving. I don't think is it being pushed down the pecking order? Arguably, yes. I think at the end of the day, as we well know, I think the resources at the club, even though have grown hugely in the last few years, I'm talking personnel and staff here. I think we're probably all in agreement that it's still considerably lacking. The off-field infrastructure is significantly lacking, where the on-field, certainly on the men's first team side of things is. And I think it's just chasing tails with a lot of it. I dare say a lot of resource and time and effort is being put into the COP project. Obviously that seems to be moving on now, but obviously has been delayed and looks like it's not going to be kind of open when it was originally planned to be. So it doesn't surprise me in some ways that maybe this has been put on the back burner a little bit, just purely because I just don't think they've got the resource to kind of spin all these plates at the same time. I think it's a consequence of how quickly the club's moved in such a short space of time, which we've talked about, umpteen times. I'm not overly concerned. It's disappointing, I think, is the biggest thing, because, like I say, I think it felt 18 months ago like we were really moving forward with the academy, which is obviously, it's like planting seeds, isn't it? It's more of a long-term benefit. But I think it's something that will ramp up again at some point. It's just, when they can get back to that plate that's spinning and spin it again.
Well, Daz has been talking about Jenny Sugarman's toolbox, and she's added 2 new tools to the toolbox. Wrexham AFC Women are delighted to announce
See what? Just called these 2 ladies tools.
Well, that's what Daz called them. He said tools in the toolbox, and that's what they are. They're players, therefore they're tools.
So out of context.
Wrexham AFC delighted to announce the signing of midfielder Faye Knox from Bolton Wanderers, joining the club on a deal until the end of the 25-26 campaign, according to the Wrexham AFC website. Knox, 20, is a former Cymru under-19s international who came through the ranks at both Manchester City and Liverpool before going on to join then WSL2 side Blackburn Rovers. During her time at youth level for Cymru, she also played alongside Wrexham AFC women midfielder Lily Jones in 2022. The midfielder joined Bolton Wanderers in September 2024 and was named as their player of the season for 24-25. Wrexham have also signed young forward Evie Sadler, who joins the club from Bolton Wanderers. The 18-year-old represented Cymru on the international stage at under-17 level and spent time in North Wales with the FAW Girls Academy until 2024, before joining Burnley. She continued to develop as a player and now arrives in North Wales looking to take the next step in her career. Daz, 2 Welsh internationals, young, a midfielder and an attacker. Both have been in the English system at a decent level. Manchester City, Liverpool, Blackburn Rovers, Burnley, all great clubs. this is just an extension, really, of A, the contacts that Jenny has, and B, what the benefits are now that having somebody who has those contacts for Wrexham as a side.
Definitely appears that Jenny's bringing a certain amount of appeal and drawing attention from those who perhaps play over in England. But I still find it fascinating that she can convince them to make that leap, because it is a very different league. You know, even the second tier, the women's tier, second tier in England, is a different level to the Gennaro. So I mean, this is the beginning of something quite exciting. If we can get as many of these types of players to be interested in playing for Wrexham, playing at this level, Cardiff have got the complementary squad to play against you. But the other teams, I've said before, I do fear that they're going to get cast adrift, and it'll be Rangers versus Celtic every year. That's my fear. We've just got to be careful that the pro, semi-pro, and the the amateur situation doesn't get stretched. But this is exciting if you want results. This is exciting if you want options. Yes, that toolkit, is an exciting, options moving forward. I think we'll probably end up seeing a fair bit of rotation again, then even more if we're talking about this caliber. Or is there a risk that some of the stalwarts that we've become reliant on may not find that there's a place for them anymore? Rosie may not get those games anymore. There may be harder to get the game time. So, this is sort of echoes a little bit of the men's team, really, where a lot of new signings are coming in. How do you fit them all in? How do you make them all work? And who's going to make room?
I know how she's persuading them.
Go on.
Stake in it.
Are they paying you or something?
Listen,
take that jumper off. Are you wearing a Stake in It t-shirt or something? What's going on?
Listen, it's left its mark on me. It was.
I can't wait to. I tell you something. I can't wait to try this. But if I get disappointed now, I'm really.
You watch. It won't be there next time you go.
No, exactly. No, definitely won't be. Jamie Faye, Bolton Wanderers, under-19s international, Man City, Liverpool, Blackburn Rovers, and has played with Lily in the middle of the park already. So there's already an established partnership there. Can you see her going into that position going, well, yeah, it makes sense. If the two of them play well, they know each other, they know the way they play, you suddenly get that solid centre block in midfield. Is that going to be a bonus?
Potentially. I mean, if they've played together already, that's going to help. I think what I would say about these two new signings is the fact that if these guys are of a similar caliber to the players that Jenny Sugarman has brought in already, then, credit where credit's due. Every player she's brought in so far looks to be, like I said before, just in the nicest possible way, just seems to be a slightly better players. And like that said, how the club she is maybe convincing is not the right word, but I guess that's the only word you can use, because there's no beating around. There's no beating around the bushes. Really, the Welsh Premier, the quality of the league as a whole isn't great. You have to be honest and say it's not a particularly great league. So to be attracting players to come into it from like whether that's whatever level of the English system is impressive, and how the club and how Jenny is doing that, God only knows. But if these guys are on a similar level to some of these players that she's brought in already, then you can only see this them adding more and more to what has already been an impressive start to the season.
It's now been confirmed that Wrexham's League Cup Round 4 fixture at home against Cardiff City will take place at the Stoke Carras on Tuesday, 28th of October, kick-off 8 p.m. The match has also been chosen for TV coverage and will be shown not only live on Sky Sports Football, but also, of course, ITV. The two Welsh sides haven't met since 2004, when Wrexham triumphed 7-6 on penalties in the semi-finals of the FAW Premier Cup. Remember that beautiful competition, Daz? We used to have such fun going to Premier Cup games. I have great memories of us going to watch Aberystwyth versus Cardiff at the old Ninian Park, with the announcer going, And coming on, somebody else. You didn't know what the name was, and it's just so
he lost his place in the team sheet and stuff, and he just said, "Coming on, somebody else." And then all the way through that second half, we were just saying, "Pass it to somebody else, give the ball to somebody else, let somebody else take the corner." And yeah, it made us all laugh.
Big game, obviously. Tickets have gone on sale to the season ticket holders, and then is available to everybody else from Friday. Daz first. Welsh football. We saw, I don't know whether you watched, Cardiff played Newport on Tuesday in the Virtue Trophy and got beat 1-0 because they basically put their teenagers on, including the youngest ever player to play for Cardiff. I think he was 16.
Right.
And got beat by Newport. I mean, this is going to be a big night, isn't it? Because there will be a lot of, we've talked about Wrexham and Swansea in the same division, whatever. Cardiff will have something to prove. It's a cup. It's an advanced cup game, so there is a lot on the line. It's going to be exciting, isn't it?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, we've talked about whether or not cups like this are important. When you get to these final stages, everybody really actually then starts to think, maybe, just maybe, we might get through to a final. Maybe we'll get, we'll do quite well. What does that look like to you? So the effort is, people put in. Not to say they don't put more effort in, that's really insulting of professional football, but there's some extra dynamicism and there's something else about the energy, but also the crowds give it as well. So you think you want to win some silverware, or it's just the opportunity to play against top teams. So Cardiff is, I wouldn't say currently our top team. So what makes it that much more juicy is that fact that it's that local rivalry. It's bragging rights. We've got the ultimate bragging rights coming up now this week with the international team. Here's another opportunity for yourselves to sort of, bragging rights between historic giant of Welsh football and the current. And they're saying the current, the one that's got the momentum going in favour, really. But yeah. I do think that they've performed. They've had some really good results so far.
No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, a bit embarrassing. I think a bit embarrassing losing to Newport, because Newport have been absolute dog do.
But like you said, they put a second string out, so they clearly were focusing elsewhere.
Yeah, they won't do that against us. They won't do that against us.
No. There's definitely going to be a top team out there.
Absolutely. Jamie, the atmosphere will be everything. Stoke Ross will be built up, obviously. I've not got your take on this because obviously you've been away. Depending on who you speak to, Wrexham fans wise, they're either absolutely delighted that it's Cardiff and can't wait to give them an absolute rogering, or horrified that it's Cardiff and are worried that we're going to get taken to the cleaners. What part of this giant fence do you sit on?
The widest part. Do you know what? I won't lie. When the draw was being made, I wanted a Premier League tie, preferably at home, or a close by away. As much as I'd love to go to like the Tottenham Stadium or the Emirates, doing that on a Tuesday night would have been not a lot of fun. But when I've kind of stopped and thought about it, I'm not saying for a second that we've won the game before we've even started. We've got to go and earn the victory, because like you just said, the atmosphere is going to be electric. And frustratingly, I don't think I can go to the game. But the atmosphere is going to be electric. There's going to be, there's been a lot of criticisms of the atmosphere at the Kairos this season. I'm going to guess for that it'll be nothing but
no, it will be
blazing, because they're going to be well up for it as well, aren't they?
Absolutely.
There's going to be a lot of banter going on for different reasons.
Absolutely.
I do think there's a lot of pressure on Wrexham. As much as Cardiff are storming. What league are they in now? National League North? League One. Yeah.
League,
in fairness, as much as they're storming League One, and as you would expect or to be expected, I think the
When
pressure.
you say storming, they're not storming.
No,
they're floating between fourth and second.
Yeah,
And,
but they're right up
you know,
there.
I would say storming is a little bit
okay.
reaching for it.
But they're right up there. But ultimately, they're the no joke intended. They're the lower league team. They're away from home. The pressure's on Wrexham, which I think makes this a little bit of a potential kind of banana skin. For me, when I stopped and thought about this, the biggest, yes, beating Cardiff would be amazing because it would give like proper bragging rights. We can say till the cows come home that we're in the higher league now and all that jazz. But to beat them would really put a full stop on them. But the biggest thing for me with this is that if we win this game, and it is a winnable game, I'm not saying we won it before we started, but it's a winnable game.
No.
We're at home.
Yeah.
We're playing a lower league team. If we take this seriously and we put out our strongest team and we play like we can do and should do, we can win this game. We would then be in the last 8 of the competition, which is crazy. Which is absolutely crazy.
It's nuts.
Not
Where's it come from?
Yeah,
Where's it come from?
I'm absolutely not suggesting for a second that there's any chance we're going to win it or anything daft like that. But to be in the last 8 of the competition would be an unbelievable achievement. So, on that basis, I'm quite happy that we're playing a lower league team. I just think it's the fact that it's Cardiff, obviously a Welsh derby. I don't know. I'm a bit nervous that, even before, I know we've got a few games before that. I'm a bit nervous about it if I'm being brutally honest. I don't know why. I've just got a funny feeling.
Keep it to yourself.
Thanks. It's probably the steak in it.
Yeah, boy. I'll tell you something. If we're not getting sponsored, I want to know why. You didn't mention them enough. Roll out the vintage dandelion and burdock. It's time for the chip shop. With Jamie back behind the counter, expect a new level of incompetence. Let's look at last week's predictions. And as we said earlier, Daz managed to hit a bullseye. Congratulations, Daz, by predicting a 1-1 draw for Wrexham versus Birmingham City. Jamie had an absolute disastrous week where he didn't get anything right.
Last week, when I sent my predictions for last week's, honestly, when I was recording them, I was like a dog with 2 dicks. I was like, yes, here we go. And then when I realised how bad my predictions were this week, I was like, oh, for God's sake.
Well, Daz moves up to second in the league. Unfortunately, doesn't go top because Jamie has one more exact bullseye than Daz does. That's the only reason. If Daz, you'd have had 2 bullseyes, then obviously you'd be at the top.
Oh, so. I was so close this week.
No,
I was thinking
absolutely,
that second goal
absolutely.
from Swansea.
Well, this is your chance this week to get it right and actually do something about it. So first, into the fryer tonight. It's our noisy neighbours. It's England. Never has the term friendly meant less than tonight at Wembley Stadium in London. Kick-off at 7:45 p.m. GMT, where Cymru sneak across the border, of course, to take on the Saes in the next chapter of How Loud Can We Boo God Save the King? England and Cymru have a long and difficult past, having fought battles and been bitter rivals, particularly in football. Tonight's meeting will be and it's amazing when I looked at these stats, tonight's meeting will be the 105th meeting in 146 years, with the first game being in 1879 at what is now the Oval Cricket Ground in Kensington in London, where England won 2-1. In fact, it took 2 years for Cymru to win its first game in 1881, winning 1-0. Since then, Cymru have only won another 13 times in those 105 meetings. Some of them massively memorable wins, though, including the last time Cymru won at Wembley, which was 1977, with a Leighton James penalty, and a massive foul by, I think it was Peter Shilton. literally grabbed Leighton round the neck, and yeah, that was definitely a penalty. Superb 4-1 win in 1980 at Stoke Kairas. Last time Cymru beat England was in 1984 when Wrexham lad Mark Hughes scored with the only goal in a 1-0 win, again at Wrexham's Racecourse Ground. The incredible Euro 2016, where England were the only group side to beat us with a 2-1 last gasp goal. Remember that, Daz? It literally was like 93rd minute. Yeah, it was horrendous. Obviously, though, that's before getting knocked out by Iceland in the group stage, and we went on to the semi-finals. Anyway, that's old history. Last time, obviously, we played England was in the 2022 World Cup, resulting in a resounding victory for England of 3-0. And the chips are done. So, Daz, as I said, no such thing as a friendly. I watched Craig Bellamy's press conference today, and he said there's no such thing as a friendly. We're here to win. That's what he said.
Yeah, he always says that kind of thing. He's very keen to make sure that these are competitive matches no matter what. If it's Nations League or whatever, or combinations, he knows there's significance in it, but also he wants players to be accountable for their place in the team. If you want to wear that shirt, you've got to earn it. And there's, it's a great opponent to be up against.
Absolutely. No Dan James. He's been ruled out. No Aaron Ramsey. He's now been ruled out.
Yeah.
So Isaac Davis and Ruben Colwell are both coming from Cardiff City to replace them. Before we talk about what kind of a match we're expecting, some have criticised this by saying, why are we playing England so close to us playing a vital game against Belgium? This could hurt our coefficient with regards to our qualification, because if we lose heavily to England, it actually hurts us with regards to where we get placed if we do go into the playoffs. On the other hand, it's England, and any chance to go into their backyard and give them a bop on the nose, potentially, is good. What are your feelings about all this? Do you think this is a good time to play England? Or do you think, actually, we should have gone a bit... Because you have to play the friendly. You can't just avoid it like you used to be able to. We could have played something like Romania, for example. Or we could have played... there were a couple of other teams available. Or was this the right choice?
Okay. So many questions. Right.
Yeah, sorry.
First of all, I think it's a cunning move to play your away game, because you have to do so many home and so many away. Just down the road. So I think that's really, really clever. So they've been training in South Wales. They then go over to Wembley, play their game, come back to training in South Wales. There's none of this silly traveling for 3 days on camels to get to Kazakhstan or something. Okay, so none of that silliness has happened, which is really good for recovery, for fitness, for preparation, familiarity. They know their training setup so well. That's home. So I think that's really good. Level of competition, I think, is really good as well, because you want to be competing and comparing yourself against the best, so that you're preparing to play against Belgium and another team. You don't want false, optimism by thumping a minnow or something like that. But equally, if you play somebody that you should be beating and you lose, that's embarrassing, that's unsettling, that'll get in your head, and we can't have anything in your head going in against Belgium. That's disruptive. I think this is a free hit against England. How many people are expecting us to win this game?
Well,
genuinely.
As I said in my thing, 105 meetings, we've only ever won 14 in the whole 146 years.
So the spin on this is, you win. So if you lose against England, you're always meant to lose that game. So it's just about trying to maintain a quality opponent, try and play your best, work out where our strengths and weaknesses might be. Let's, maybe try something different, try some different tactics against a really well organized team, which actually I fear this team a little bit more than in recent teams, because the likes of, Bellingham and all of that, that's the old England where you had superstars in places and they didn't play well as a team. I think actually the danger is if you get your youngsters in there, whether it's a Gibbs White or a Lewis Skelly, or I don't know. You could play some of these players, and I think there's a lot of really, really good players in that team that probably don't get to play for England. Because once you have, what's his face? I want to say Gary Kane.
Harry Kane. Harry Kane.
I know.
He
We
may
call
be
him
injured.
we call him Gary in our house, so I can't
Oh,
stop
right,
saying
okay.
Gary Kane. So anyway, Gary Kane.
He
But
may
he's
be injured. I heard today.
No, he is.
Yeah.
I think he's announced as injured. So
Fine.
the fact that he would normally be a starter, so there are other players playing up front. You've also got players that have found new form in Rashford and things like that as well coming through. So there's actually a little bit of uncertainty about this England side. So it's quite a difficult one to predict. So anyway, you've got your free hit. If we beat them, oh my God, can you imagine the high, the energy, the euphoria that's going to go
die
into
happy. I can die happy.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking about the squad. I'm just thinking about the squad. Even before you think about the player, the fans and the occasion and everything like that, you go back to that training camp going, we've just been in England, right? Bring on Belgium. That energy is going to be incredible. But equally, if you were to lose against England, I don't think you drop that far. I don't think you drop far. You go, okay, it's England. We're supposed to lose against a team like that. Belgium were a team of note. They were the number one. They were number three. I can't remember where they are now. They're still top 10. They're still top 10 side. So to be able to practice have this friendly against a top 10 side as well is good. So there's that. Now, go back to your very first question, which was, is it wise to play a team like this so soon before a major tournament? Yes, injuries are a risk. Fatigue is a risk. You can argue if it goes well, no. It was brilliant because it prepared them, got them thinking, it got But yes, if we get somebody stretch it off and you just go, oh my God, we've just lost another, twisted ankle, broken leg, or something like that. And it was for a friendly. Why is that?
But that can happen on the training ground, can't it? It can happen at any point.
Exactly.
So,
exactly. So I don't buy quite into that thinking as a rule. I like it to be competitive. I'd like it to be meaningful. I think if you're going to ask people to pay a large amount of money for a ticket, which I still feel that this is an excessive amount of money for a friendly. I appreciate it's Wembley, but Wembley Stadium.
I don't know how much your burger's going to be there.
Oh,
You'll be begging for steak in it next week.
Oh my goodness me!
What are you saying?
I'm going to ban that word. I'm going to ban that word.
Are you saying they're 19 quid?
90? No, the ticket is 90 quid.
Oh yeah. No, I knew that. I was thinking about the
burgers are probably going to be
75.
I was going to say, yeah, definitely.
I think the stadium's a good day out, but Wembley's a shithole.
Wembley's a shithole. Wembley's
a shithole.
It is definitely
an awful place to go to. So
absolutely, Jamie is because obviously Thomas Tuchel is still trying to find his. He's had struggles. He's had struggles in. Yes, they've won in the qualifiers, but hey,
still trying to find his keys.
No, shut up. I'm not giving you decent internet ever again because you've been nothing but trouble this week. Obviously, they've been having their trouble. They have been winning, but they're not nowhere near as convincing as England fans have liked. Apart from the last, they lost to Senegal. That's for second time ever or some first time ever or whatever. And I know Daz is pulling the face and saying, "Well, it was experimental, blah blah blah." All that kind of stuff. What I'm trying to say is this a good time for us to be playing England? Does it give us, because we are a bit more bedded in and established because Bellas has been there a while? Is this a good time for us to play England?
I don't really think there's much. I don't think there's much. I don't think there's much in that, to be honest with you. Not international football. Like you said before, I think Daz makes a great point about the kind of the requirements to play a certain number of friendlies, home and away, and all that jazz. So I think from a logistical point of view, this is clever. But I do agree with the kind of the head scratching about why would you play England this close to that crucial game against Belgium. And granted, when this was organised, we wouldn't have known that game was going to be as crucial as it is against Belgium, but it was still always going to be a big game. This is a really tricky one, I think, for me, because again, Daz's point there about this England team is very different, I think, to the England team of old. You talk about like the golden age and all that crap. When it was England's problem has always been they have had phenomenal individual players, but a team of superstars doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna go and blow teams away. You have to play as a team, and I think all too often that's not been the case with England. But I think Daz makes a great point in the sense that a lot of the names now that are playing for England are teams that are players that are they're still world-class players. Of course they are, but they're not necessarily your Bellinghams, your Kanes, you're going back to your Rooneys and people like that. Like Gibbs White, you mentioned there. You see, I've just got double barrel names in my head now. Lewis Skelly, but you've got like Eze and people like that, quality players, quality Premier League players, but not necessarily, they're not Ronaldo's or Messi's, they're not world class players. And I think that makes them quite dangerous. God forbid that they win another tournament again, because we literally would never hear the end of it. But I'm a little bit, as much as Dad says this is a free hit for us, I'm a little bit nervous about this game because I think it's a free hit for them as well, in the sense that they've all, I think all barring,
they've qualified.
They've pretty much qualified anyway.
They've already qualified. But then when you're in the same group as, the WI 11 and the Eastbourne and Frame Relay 11,
of course,
Farmers 11, what do you expect?
No, of course. But the bottom line is that the reason why I'm nervous about this game is because as much as Bellamy obviously has said in the press conference that it'll be competitive, we want to go and win. Of course, all of us want that, but none of us want anything to come away from this game that's going to have a detriment on the Belgian game. And it'll be really interesting to see what team he puts out. It'll be really interesting to see what the kind of intensity levels are and how we approach this game. As much as I would love to think that he's going to approach this like he did as a player, full throttle, all gas, no brakes, I just don't know whether he will approach it like that, because it's just
he said in his
a big game.
Said in his press conference today that he's going to press and he's going to charge and he's not going to sit back and he's going to basically lay it on him. That's what he said in his press conference.
And if that's what he does, if he puts our strongest available team out, and that's what he does, fair play. Hats off to him. But I don't know. Hindsight, it's all hindsight, isn't it? We won't know until a week and a bit's time once we played the Belgium game.
But if we do win tomorrow, I am going to start drinking. Just be warned. So, time for the salt, vinegar, and sauce Koch. Daz, what's your score prediction for Lloegr versus Cymru?
Okay. I'm going to try and be as pragmatic as I can be.
You coward.
So 10-0 to Wales. Oh, sorry. Okay. Let's be realistic. This is at Wembley. This is their manor. They should be winning. Okay. They've got the better players. They've got a world-class manager. They lose players now to injury. They replace them with world-class players.
Absolutely.
We're looking.
Strength in depth. It's unbelievable.
Our replacements came from League One, so there's the world class difference. And I think he was quoted as well. He's saying their squad costs about 1.2 billion. Our squad costs 170 million. It's leagues apart.
Yeah.
So I have to be realistic and say they are the better team. They are at home. They should be winning. And on that basis, 2-0 to England.
Denzel. So disappointed. Jamie, what's your score prediction for Lloegr versus Cymru?
I have a similar mindset, I've got to be honest. Whether we like to admit it or not, they are, a squad full of world-class players, whoever plays. Like you say, it's in their backyard. The fans are going to be up for it because they're going to want to beat us as much as as we would love to get something off them. The bit where I've struggled is whether we can score or not, and I bounce between 2-0 or 3-1. So just for shits and giggles, I'm going to say England 3, Wales 1.
I completely understand everything you're saying, and it makes absolute sense. But I will be f***ed to death if I ever say that England are going to beat us. So f*** the league and f*** England and 2-1 to Cymru. So let's wrap those chips up to keep them warm.
You know what? I really do hope you get the points for that one this week. I really do hope you get the points.
And next is the Friday tonight. It's Cardiff City Women.
Who's fucking you today?
Cardiff City Women will be playing Wrexham Women at the Globe in Buckley on Sunday, 12th of October, kick-off at 2 p.m. It's the clash of the top two. It's the game we're all waiting for to see, certainly at this point in the season. Cardiff being the reigning champions for the third year running, finishing last year with 11 wins, 1 draw, 2 losses, a goal difference of plus 20 and 34 points, 5 points ahead of nearest rival Britain Ferry. They lost the opening match of the season away at TNS 1-0, but have since steamrolled over opposition, scoring 19 goals and only conceding 2 in 4 games. But that's how impressive they are. Also, obviously, Cardiff are winning cups like tomorrow. They've won the FA Cup 4 times in a row. You know, they're unstoppable as a team. Wrexham and Cardiff met 5 times last season, 4 times in the league, where Wrexham won 2 and lost 2. And then obviously they met in the Women's FA Cup final for the second year in a row, where Wrexham lost 3-1. And the chips are done. So I think this for me is the game, Daz. This is the game, right? I think this will tell us exactly where Wrexham are going to be this season. True or false?
I don't. It's hard this because also the Buckley mix. You know, that's a bit of a game changer. I think that's the idea. If this was at Cardiff
the cynic
Stadium,
in me, so the cynic in me is thinking, yes, big game. You'd think it might be at the racecourse, but that's a beautiful carpet pitch, and that plays to the advantages of Cardiff City. Let's put it in the Somme, where it's massively bumpy and horrendous, and that will level the playing field.
But up until this recent most game, I would have said that might have been a really good tactic. But I just think actually Wrexham have been showing themselves to be the slick side. So I do think there's that might come to bite them if that was their thinking. I'm not sure it is. I think it's just simply availability and all of that kind of thing. No, it is going to be tight. I do think it's going to be a bit close. I do think it's sort of a goal either way or draw. I've been thinking like that all the way. It's going to be really, really tight. I do think that that Cardiff are probably in the minds of some of the Wrexham players as being this team to beat. But you've got enough new players now who don't know. They know Cardiff exists, but they don't really know the history of it.
They don't know the history. No,
they know they're 3 times champion. You can read that, but actually, those defeats they're not hurting from those defeats that they've had in the past. So there's something to be said about a fresh approach to this, and so I think it's going to be a very both really strong attacking teams. The defenses at times have had their criticism, but they've both been shored up. So. So watch. Look out for a boring 0-0 draw. Well done.
Probably. Time for the salt vinegar and sauce corker. Then, Jamie, what's your score prediction for Wrexham Women versus Cardiff City Women?
Well, I'm going to learn from my mistake of going against them last week. I'm going to go for a 3-2 Wrexham win.
Very good. Daz, what's your score prediction for Wrexham Women versus Cardiff City Women?
I've gone for a Cardiff win.
You scumbag. You beat England to win, Cardiff to win? Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
Go on.
2-1. Close. It's going to be really, really close.
No cigar. Close, no cigar. And I'm predicting... Go on, sorry, go on.
I was going to say I nearly went 1-1, but I think it's going to be really close.
Okay, and I'm predicting Wrexham 3, Cardiff City 1. I think Wrexham are going to roll over them. I really do. There's nothing to be scared of this side anymore. The time of where we used to dread playing Cardiff is gone. We beat them twice last season, and this was with a team that wasn't firing at full power. Now we've got all those extra tools that Daz was talking about earlier. Yes, Cardiff have fallen back into their groove, but we've seen that they are beatable. And I think we can take them on, and I think we can beat them, particularly on the minefield that is the Globe of Buckley. I think that's the perfect time to do it. So, yeah, 3-1 to Wrexham, move on, and we would then become top of the league. And I tell you something, I'm just warning you now, right? If Cymru beat England and Wrexham go top of the league, you're going to be coming to my funeral, I think, because I don't think I'm going to be able to take it. So let's wrap those chips up to keep them warm. I'm joking.
Daz says, please send 10,000. Just get some new t-shirts on the go.
Last into the fryer tonight, it's Belgium. In a week of meeting mortal enemies, very few top of this list like Belgium do. Belgium is the side that Cymru have met the most in the 21st century, with the two teams meeting each other 10 times since 2012 in 4 different competitions. Only 2 of them have been Cymru wins. The greatest of those, obviously, being the aforementioned Euro 2016 competition in Lille at the quarter-final stage. Belgium took the lead, and then 3 of the greatest goals in our history. Ashley Williams' close-range header, Hal Robson-Kanu, Cruyff turn in the box, Sam Bogue's glancing header. A night no Cymru fan will ever forget. Fast forward, and we meet again in the group stage of a World Cup qualifier. We've already met Belgium in Brussels, and what a ding-dong game that was. Cymru went 3-0 down by half-time and looked dead and buried. Then Wilson, Thomas and Johnson step up in the second half to score and make it 3-3 before that massive inbred ginger Ponce De Bruyne popped up at the back post on 88 minutes to win the tie 4-3. Cymru are currently third in Group J, equal on points with Belgium in second. But Belgium have that game in hand, which they will play while we are playing the England friendly. They play the current group leaders, North Macedonia, and obviously if they beat them, they'll come to our game as group leaders with a huge goal difference over Cymru. All that makes this game quite pivotal. But even if we beat Belgium, we'll still need to beat Liechtenstein away and North Macedonia at home and hope Belgium drop points somewhere else to have any possibility of getting the all-important top spot. And the chips are done. I'm so bored with playing Belgium. I cannot tell you how bored I am. If we never play them for the next 100 years, I'll be delighted.
I really need to get to the bottom of what Kevin De Bruyne has done to you, because there's I
just told you. He's an inbred ginger Ponce. That's all you need. Daz, it was a weird game, wasn't it, out in Brussels? It was very, very odd, because we went there thinking with lots of confidence and got absolutely smacked down in the first half, and then suddenly in the second half we came out like a completely different team and nearly grabbed the point. I mean, we're going to be at home, packed out CCS. I'll be there. You'll be there. You'll be there.
Yeah.
So we'll be there. Packed out CCS. Which we know, obviously, when those nights happen, that that's the 12th man. What kind of a game are you expecting on this one on the Monday? Obviously, following the England, whatever we do against England, of course.
Yeah, I mean, this is the weird thing about talking about this now, is that everybody listening knows how wrong we've been about the England game. So that's the first thing.
And you can read my obituary in the newspaper, possibly. So yeah, it's all there, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we have got this history with Belgium. Don't forget, the last time we beat them was 9 years ago, though. I mean, it's a long time ago.
Yes, it is.
Yes, we did have a really successful game against them, a successful second half against them last time around. I think some of that was Belgium's own doing, though. They made substitutions thinking that the 3 goals was enough. And then in any other normal situation, that would be the case. So they try to protect some players, save energy. I don't know. Maybe give somebody some opportunities. So they lost their shape. We found an opportunity to take advantage of that. I don't think they're going to do that again. They know that if they beat us, that's pretty much them through, because they've only got like a Kazakhstan and a Liechtenstein game to go, so they're virtually gimmies. So they win this and they're through, and it's pretty safe. So it's in their interest to commit to this and be strong. Even if at 3-0 at halftime, they'll need to make sure they stay in the game. Whether or not it'll be 3-0 again this time, I'm not sure. I think we gave away some silly mistakes. We made some silly mistakes. Those early goals were just, we just switched off. There was no, I don't think that's going to happen again. Certainly not under Bellamy's watch. Certainly not at home. I just don't think that's acceptable. The crowds won't let them. The players won't want it. I think there may be an element of conservative, sort of, careful. When two boxers first come out and they're just jabbing a little bit, just to find their way in the match.
Feeling each other out. Yeah.
Yeah, and I
Not
think
in the
there'll be
sexy way either. Yeah.
which we all like, obviously, but it's the fact that the fact is they're going to try and find their way. They're going to try and adjust. I don't think they're going to overcommit. But I do think, as much as Bella says he's going to attack, he's going to press and stuff, that's their play, that's their style, that's the way he wants to play. It's a non-negotiable that he wants a philosophy that Wales play. So it will have a certain amount of tempo to it, but I don't think we're going to afford to give them the luxury of any kind of head start or leads, which is what we did last time. We gave them a huge head start. Off you go, 3-0 head start, see if we can peg you back. But the spirit within the team to be able to get back last time just showed how close this team is.
Superb.
Some really good, really good combination of, there's some players now who know how to play with each other in different positions, that they know how to get the most out of each other. We have got a return to the squad now, some very key players. So whether it's Amps, Rodon, yes, we've lost Dan James, but he was a really good impact. Sorba's been doing great on the left wing for us for a while. If we can have Brooks involved, we can get Harry playing properly, really well. If we could just get Brennan to score, it's just,
I know what you mean.
Whatever. We were talking about it, myself and my daughter downstairs. He's doing so well for Tottenham. He's such a brilliant winger, but he's coming in and doing what good wingers do. So when it's out on the left, the opposite winger comes in and just comes in for the far post, and he's tapping them in, he's heading them in, he's doing a lot of good work. Whatever we're doing at Cymru, it doesn't suit that type of winger, whatever. Or the brief isn't quite right, or because we've got Sorba, so he should be able to come in and poach that far post. When he's on the right wing, Sorba comes in and stuff. So it should be exactly the same. I don't know what's wrong. He's not an out and out centre forward though. So if it's not Kiefer, then it should be Broadhead. It should be somebody who plays that central role all the time. And I think that's the key thing. Whether it's Harris, not sure. But if it's to see who he puts in midfield, JJ. I would imagine he's been playing well. He's been scored. He's
played very well for Birmingham. But when I watch him at Leicester, he was by far their best player. He was everywhere.
He's also scored against Wrexham, and did he score against Swansea as well? He's having a right go at playing against everybody.
Absolutely, yeah.
He's trying to convince us he's Welsh, by the way. People keep asking him, why did you choose Wales over England?
Yeah.
And then he starts scoring against the Welsh teams. So I think it's about who's in that midfield. If we can get JJ anchoring that, yes, it could be Liam Cullum. Yes, there's Ramsey injured now. Thankfully, he's put that to bed. I think that the idea he was in the squad just was confusing things. I'm just pleased he's in the camp. He can really give some mentoring and some stewardship to the youngsters, to the inexperienced. I don't say youngsters. A lot of them have got a lot of experience, even though they're young. And so it's exciting, but they are a really threatening, very talented Belgian side. Lots of goals in there. But there's no Lukaku. There's a couple of other injuries as well. So, you never know. You never know.
Jamie, we got to talk about the Wrexham boys up front. You would expect to see Moore and Broadhead. Would you think, with the way they're playing at the moment for Wrexham?
I think if you look at Kiefer Moore's start to the season as a whole, then he's had a good start to the season, good return from the games. If you look at his last couple of games, his goals have dried up a little bit, and like we said when we talked about the Birmingham game, he was a little bit ineffective in that game. I would expect him to play a part. I guess, like we say all the time with these predictions, when we're predicting a second game that comes after a game that's already happened a few days before, even though in this case it's a friendly and but it'll still have a big bearing on what team he picks and puts out there. Without knowing what team he's going to go with against England, it's hard to know whether he will go with Moore and or Broadhead in this Belgian game. Yeah, I mean, they'll both be involved. I think, if they're fit, they'll both be involved. Whether they'll both start, whether they'll, play from the start, I don't know. I'd like, Broadhead for me. I'd like to see him get some good minutes because I think he's looked, prior to the Birmingham game where he didn't really get a chance. He'd had a good couple of games for Wrexham. We know what he's capable of. I'd really like to see him start the game, but I don't know. We'll see.
So time for the salt, vinegar and sauce cork. I'll go first on this one. I'm predicting Cymru 2, Belgium 2. I think it's going to be a draw. I think Cymru will have learned their lessons, and as Des rightly says, they're not going to give away 3 goals again in quick succession. I think Belgium will be very cautious because they know how, after the Brussels incident, they know how dangerous Cymru are. So, and you can't give them as a head of steam because suddenly we turn up the wick a little bit. But I can see a 2-2 draw. Doesn't help anybody, that, to be honest with you. But there you go. Daz, what's your score prediction for Cymru versus Belgium?
I'd already written 1-1. I've gone a draw as well. I think it's going to be much tighter this time. I hope not. I hope we can get the win, of course. But the pragmatic reality, I'm just thinking it's going to be a tight one.
Jamie, what's your score prediction for Cymru versus Belgium?
Well, to steal your line from the England game, Belgium. I genuinely think that the atmosphere and the red wall is going to be absolutely electric. And I think, regardless of what happens against England, I think we're going to win. I think we're going to win 2-1.
Nice. That's how you do it, Daz. Right there. That's how you do it. So let's wrap those chips up to keep them warm. And we'll be reviewing these 3 games in next week's pod. So there we go. There it is. Jamie's back with all of his nonsense, and Daz just talks nonsense, and I just swear a lot. So no change there. We'll look back next week at the England versus Cymru game, obviously the Cymru versus Belgium game, and Wrexham Women versus Cardiff City Women. And then we'll charge straight back into the domestic season with a trip for Wrexham to Stoke City before we welcome Oxford United back to the Stoke Kairas. Please let us know in the usual way, whether it be on YouTube or comments on Spotify, or if you want to send us an email, eatmorechipspodcast, all one word, @gmail.com. We always welcome your comments, your questions, your posts, particularly if you want to criticize Jamie for saying Parky out, because I definitely heard him say that this week. Definitely heard him. So yeah, obviously couldn't have done this today without my 2 colleagues who, as I said at the beginning, now both live in Wales. So we are now a 100% fully Welsh podcast. Jamie, good to be back.
Yes. I've as much as you drive me mad, I've missed you both. So yes, good to be back.
Drive you mad, nice. Thank you, Daz, as always. You're not going to Wembley tomorrow, are you?
Nah, I'm afraid I've got a big work commitment all day, and so just getting to Wembley is not even on the cards. So yeah.
Will you get to watch it?
Oh yeah.
Where will you be watching? At home or in a pub or?
Probably at home because I think the kids quite fancy it. So yeah. So
any of the gang going? Ebbs obviously will be there doing the telly coverage.
No, nobody's midweek game friendly. 90 quid. We're all from Cardiganshire, mate.
Exactly.
Ain't paying that kind of price.
Absolutely. I've never meant this more than I'm going to say it right now. Come on, Cymru, and come on the town.
Clinton, 1-0. Thomas, after like a goal. That's number 5.
Plays it through to Bellamy.
Bellamy. Craig Bellamy. It's 2-1 Wales. Craig Bellamy. Tony Hughes for Wrexham into the lead.
And that's it! Wrexham are champions! Wrexham are champions! Wrexham are the FA Trophy winners 2013! Alex Cross, great ball! Equaliser! Elliot Lee!
Back to back to back promotions. Oh, can you believe it?
The Eat More Chips Podcast.